Impetus, episode 105. The night starts off with a promo package of the 2-year anniversary spectacular from last week. Highlights of the main event ladder match between Ricky Matthews and Sam Pullen are shown. With the hero's lawsuit and the president's ownership on the line, much like episode 100, it truly was a winner-take-all affair. With Sam being beaten through the arena by his employee, he hoped to hire help from the back, as his adrenaline team were clearly not returning. Sam had a plan B, sending multiple heels out to do their boss's dirty work. However, realizing that things need to change, the heels left their president to lose, allowing Ricky to hit the mat attack on his boss onto an elevated ladder and retrieve his contract, sending the villainous boss out of the company. Ricky is free, the Impetus locker room are free, and finally, Sam Pullen is gone. After an intro to the show, commentary are heard. Much like episode 101, the camera views the arena for a while, with our commentators curious as to who is now in charge of the show. Our question may be unfortunately answered as Jillian Day enters the stage. With CJ almost peeing his pants from excitement, Aaron Cutler can't believe his eyes. Not only has Jillian Day returned as Triple J's manager due to the team's loss from last week, but is she back to run the show? Jillian is happy to be back and explains what went down last week. Although the fans and Triple J may have regained the most valuable manager in all of sports, she is saddened to speak of the loss of her president. Due to the vile and selfish actions of Ricky Matthews, Sam Pullen is no longer the president of Impetus. Hearing the crowd's positive reaction, Jillian is angered, only to snigger as she has a huge announcement. She boasts about Sam's intelligence, claiming that he didn't make a global empire like Impetus due to bad decision deals. He thought ahead. If there was even the slightest chance of Sam losing his position of power, he knew he couldn't rely on the board of directors to create a new president. He knew he had to think ahead, and he did. If anything were to go wrong, Sam knew he had to place the company in the hands of someone he could trust, someone he knew would run operations as smoothly and as unbiased as him. Ladies and gentlemen, the new president of Impetus is Jillian Day. Jillian blows kisses to her fans, jumping for joy, and continues her sermon, only to be interrupted by Vipernip. The previously retired superhero shocks all by entering 5 weeks after his final match. Electrifying the crowd and shocking Jillian even more, the fickle female starts yelling and moaning as soon as she gets the chance, asking why the hell Vipernip is here and who he thinks he is, interrupting her moment of glory. Vipernip calmly shuts her up and explains why he's back. He knew Sam would make a stupid decision by allocating an ally a position of power. In fact, the aforementioned board of directors did too. With Sam losing his match last week, the board had 7 days to think of a plan. 7 days to regroup and come up with names as to who would be next in line at the throne. Vipernip got a whiff of this and, with everything that went down during the last couple of months of his career, he couldn't think of a better way to stick it to Sam and all of Adrenaline than by putting his name in the hat. Funny thing is, he didn't really expect to be chosen for the job. However, lo and behold, the board decided to appoint the role of presidency to the most experienced, most respected, most attractive, most irresistible man with the largest penis in all of wrestling. And then, when they realized they couldn't get that guy, they decided to go with the second best thing. The man who is just as experienced, just as respected, just as attractive, and just as irresistible. The man with an average-sized penis. Ladies and gentlemen, the new, hand-picked president of Impetus is Vipernip. Jillian still can't believe it. She yells once again like the brat she is, beginning to ask Vipernip who the hell he is. He's retired. She got rid of him. Sam chose her to take over the company. Vipernip tells the hoe to shut her mouth. He speaks over her, telling her that he has a lot of business to take care of now that he's got a suit to wear. As a result, his first order of business, Vipernip stares at Jillian and says, "You're fired, bitch." Vipernip then drops her with a Viper Buster. With huge momentum, the superhero talks trash to the fallen female, celebrating with the fans as he has returned to Impetus as the owner of the damn place. Of course, CJ goes ballistic with rage at the commentary desk, claiming this all to be unfair. However, Aaron, much like the rest of us, love it. After a commercial break, we then see Jillian walk down the backstage hallway. Helped by doctors with a half-broken back, Jillian is furious with what has just happened. She yells and screams with embarrassment as it seems she is getting taken to the medical room before she is escorted out of the building. Advertisements for tonight's episode of Impetus take place. Tonight, what is next for Johnny Fabuloso? Defeated by Warren Jaxon last week, Terri Delighta announces Johnny's future. Also, an exclusive interview with Akira. Aaron Cutler speaks with Akira after her controversial words from last week. And our main event, it's a champion versus champion match. Greg Williams, the world champion, takes on Warren Jaxon, the coast-to-coast champion. A huge main event has just been announced by the new president, Vipernip. The excitement continues as Dylan Dark enters with Jarvis Banks and Mark Emille by his side. As the new trio enter with Mark and Jarvis having the half Conrad Damnation masks equipped on their faces, Aaron and CJ are curious as to why the rookies of Mark and Jarvis have sided with the man who has put them through grief. Replays of last week's 2-year anniversary spectacular takes place. Highlights of Jimmy Sparrow's post-title match are shown. With Dylan Dark making an appearance on stage, Jimmy was soon attacked by his so-called friends. With half a Conrad Damnation mask on either rookie's head, are we witnessing a new faction? Enter Wazzy D and Barry the Bogan. Match 1. Jarvis Banks and Mark Emille alongside Dylan Dark versus Wazzy D and Barry the Bogan. With Dylan motivating them, Jarvis and Mark win by hitting their wheelbarrow suplex combination, following up with the 2-man condemnation finishing move. Winners, Jarvis Banks and Mark Emille. After the match, the rookies align with Dylan in the ring, sniggering at their new alliance. The question still remains, why? We then cut to backstage footage in the hallway featuring Vipernip and Triple J. Vipernip is seen walking through the backstage area, quickly being approached by multiple members of the roster, welcoming him back with delight. The superhero then gets approached by Jimmy Stevens and Jack Ross, Triple J. The team want to thank their new president for ridding them of Jillian Day before she started making their lives a living hell once again. Plus, firing her was priceless. Vipernip is happy to see the team happy and can't wait to see what their future looks like. As for now, he's going to get out of his cape and slip into something a little more formal. The team and president shake hands, allowing Vipernip to walk on with a smile. Enter Jade Williams. As the dominant woman enters, CJ compliments her for her actions last week and claims that it's a damn shame she has become a forgotten thought here on Impetus. Aaron reminds us of why CJ is being so annoying. A replay from last week's 2-year anniversary spectacular show is seen. With Daria defending her title by sending Courtney through a table, she didn't have too long to celebrate, as she was placed through another table due to the sudden appearance of Jade Williams. Enter Jackie Sky. As Jackie enters with happiness, Aaron states his confusion as to why Jade made such an impact. CJ gladly answers, reminding all that Jade was once considered the #1 contender to the women's title and was, for some reason, completely ignored. Match 2. Jade Williams versus Jackie Sky. Pissed off and refusing to be hurt by her opponent, Jade finishes Jackie off quickly with her powerbomb. In fact, she hits 3 in a row, venting anger toward her lack of acknowledgement. Winner, Jade Williams. Repeated announcements are seen for the episode. Tonight, an exclusive interview with Akira. The women's division seems to be heating up as Aaron Cutler speaks with Akira after her controversial words from last week. And the main event, scheduled by the new president himself, Vipernip. Greg Williams takes on Warren Jaxon. However, up next, what's next for Johnny Fabuloso? Defeated by Warren Jaxon last week, Terri Delighta announces Johnny's future. That is all to come up next. Before the Delightful One's huge announcement, a backstage interview in the interview area is seen from Jimmy Sparrow. After failing to capture the World Impetus Championship last week, Jimmy is reminded, not that he needs to be, of the attack delivered by Jarvis Banks and Mark Emille, seemingly orchestrated by Dylan Dark. After witnessing Jarvis Banks and Mark Emille standing side by side with a man who has caused him so much trauma, Jimmy is asked for his reactions. Exhaling with sadness, Jimmy has realized he should probably take a step back. He humbles himself. Perhaps winning and quickly being stripped of the world title gave him a chip on his shoulder and made him think he could achieve anything. When it comes to Mark and Jarvis, he thought they were his friends, but that clearly seems to have changed. The interviewer asked for the reason for this sudden change. Jimmy has seemingly done everything in his power over the past few months to protect them, or perhaps it was Jimmy's lack of priorities that caused his friends to become his enemies. Who knows? Jimmy admits that he tried to stray away from Dylan Dark, but he believes that the Jarvis and Mark that he has gotten to know wouldn't do what they did last week. Either he doesn't know them at all, or they've been blinded by Dylan somehow, or, based on how they acted in their match tonight, it could be both. He wants to be rid of this pressure and go back to simply competing, but he can't do so without settling all of this first. The key to any relationship, any friendship, is honesty and trust. Jimmy vows to deliver and be delivered honesty and trust from his so-called friends. Jimmy exits with irritation. Promo. Enter Terri Delighta and Johnny Fabuloso. As the Fabulous Ones enter, Aaron reminds us of Johnny's loss to the Coast to Coast champion last week. Terri Delighta claims that Johnny may have lost the match last week, but he won so much more. They'll admit it. They stole the Coast to Coast championship 2 weeks ago, and it was all his idea. The whole thing was a publicity stunt. Not to appeal to the lower class, degenerate scum of the wrestling industry, but to showcase the star power of the most gorgeous model within the entire entertainment industry. With the fans apparently looking on with their ugly, drool-stained, mouth-breathing faces in confusion, Terri Delighta explains that by the time the 2-year anniversary spectacular episode came around, their job was already done. Terri refers all to the screen for their explanation and pleasure. A sexy photoshoot video is shown of Johnny Fabuloso posing to multiple cameras in different sexy locations, all with a deep voiceover being heard. Johnny Fabuloso, the most fabulous man in the world. Abs made of steel, a jawline that could cut through iron, and skin smoother than the cream cheese being spread on a bagel. The man with the most gorgeous waist in the entire entertainment industry. What could make this man sexier? How about some gold? Footage of Johnny posing with the Coast to Coast title is shown, getting sexier and sexier by the second. The title is then seen around a naked Johnny, covering his naked groin. With the scene ending with a still image of Johnny's nearly naked body, we return to the ring. Terri claims that, yes, most men would consider winning the Coast to Coast title to be a prestigious accomplishment, and they're right. But Johnny Fabuloso is not most men. Their plan was to use the Coast to Coast title purely as a prop to sell magazines, posters, and clothing. However, seeing Johnny with a piece of gold around his gorgeous waist inspired Terri to broaden his horizons. Johnny Fabuloso will become a champion. He will showcase the level of stardom he has by claiming the grandest prize of them all, the World Impetus Championship. Soon, the Fabulous One will become even more fabulous, as he will become the World Impetus Champion, and he will prove it right now. Enter Gary Federline. Hoping to regain some lost momentum, Federline enters with focus. Match 3. Johnny Fabuloso with Terri Delighta versus Gary Federline. With Terri making multiple annoying interferences in the match, Gary gets sick of it and decides to act. Whipped from one side of the ring to the other, Gary is about to hit the ropes. With Terri attempting to swipe the opponent's feet, Gary sees it coming and stomps on the manager's hand. With Terri in huge pain, Gary talks trash until being hit with the no alibi finisher by Johnny for the win. Winner, Johnny Fabuloso. After the match, with Terri whining about his poor little finger, he gloats about his powerfully sexy client while they exit. Does Johnny Fabuloso have the World Impetus title in his future? After the action, El Fuego have a backstage interview at the interview area. El Fuego are introduced and asked how they feel with the odd end to their match last week. Synxia is, of course, not happy about it, but hey, they're still the champs. The interviewer then asks if they don't feel any sort of guilt for escaping with the titles rather than successfully retaining them. What are you, my mother? Look, Lystio knows that they got away with murder last week. What are they going to do? Lie? Lie and tell us that they could have beaten Skar and Susan easy peasy, unos dos tres? No way! Immunity may be annoying pieces of crap, but they saved their asses last week. El Fuego are happy to remain the tag team champions and move on to a less rip your head off type of team. El Fuego high five and are cocky until the interviewer informs them that they may need to finish what they started, as they have just been informed that Lystio will be facing Susan later tonight. With Lystio in silent shock, his mouth is wide open. Noticing this, Synxia cuts a promo for him, stating that his partner can take on any challenge. Why? Because he is the fire, El Fuego. And whether anyone likes it or not, Synxia then stops his heroic speech and sniffs the air. A disgusted look appears on his face as he looks down and behind a stunned and fearful Lystio. Synxia reacts to what he sees and pushes Lystio away from the scene, telling his partner to go and change his gear. We then transition from one backstage scene to another, this time outside the medical room with Jillian Day. A doctor's room door is seen. The commentators claim that Jillian Day has apparently been cleared by the medical staff and is set to leave the premises. Then the door opens. Escorted out of the building by security, Jillian is humiliated to leave. She hopes to turn around in hopes to talk to Vipernip, but gets forced out of the venue. Led out of the back area doors, she starts to shout, claiming that Vipernip will be hearing from her lawyers. Jillian stands outside alone, unemployed, as we head into a commercial break. Back from the break, Vipernip has his own interview in the interview area. Still buzzing about the new owner of the company, our interviewer introduces Vipernip for his first interview as president. Appearing in a suit and tie, Vipernip is reminded of his first call of action from earlier this evening, firing Jillian Day on the spot. He is asked what insanity he has planned next. Before he begins, Vipernip has forgotten something. He goes off camera and quickly returns with his cape, placing it over his formal attire. He claims that it felt great putting the hammer down on Jillian Day this evening. However, it will only get better from here. He's not going to talk about the stock market, statistics, lawyers, or any of the boring crap. No. He's going to announce what people care about most. Vipernip has a huge announcement concerning the World Impetus title, and, like a true businessman, he's going to give the crowd blue balls, as he will be revealing it very soon. Vipernip puts the hammer down and exits with excitement. Enter Kelly Sales. As Kelly enters with her bright red hair, the commentators find this matchup very interesting. A replay from last week's 2-year anniversary spectacular episode is shown. The confrontation between Jacinta and Akira is shown, with the less established female speaking her mind to the villain about the state of women's wrestling. Enter Akira. Making a statement last week, Akira heads into action with little makeup and simple attire. Match 4. Akira versus Kelly Sales. Winner, Akira. After her victory, a post-match interview is seen. Aaron Cutler climbs in the ring while the victor settles down from her celebration. The commentator mentions Akira's debate with Jacinta last week and asks where these opinions came from, as they seemingly came out of nowhere. Akira explains her statements, claiming that she's never been a huge advocate for cosmetics and aesthetics. She's enjoyed the world of women's wrestling over the last few years as her love for the industry grew due to female talent being taken more seriously. However, Akira believes that the business is sort of going backwards. As politely as possible, Akira suggests that the women of today need to stop obsessing over what they look like, what eyeshadow they're going to use, what their next hair color is going to be, and start focusing on the more important things, keeping the status of the women's wrestling division at its highest, making it higher than ever before. It seems as though there are women out there, like Jacinta, that think differently. As a result, Akira makes it her personal goal to make sure that she proves that you can make it in this business without relying on high brand accessories to make you interesting. After an oddly heroic speech, Akira exits with a desire for change. Our camera cuts to backstage, focusing on the outside of a bathroom. Located outside the bathroom facility, an interviewer stands by with the sounds of grunting and pouring water being heard. They announce the rumour that Warren Jaxon has been in the toilet for over 30 minutes, with many members of staff wondering what exactly he is doing in there. The interviewer calls for Jaxon, but to no reply. Asking for a talk, the interviewer slowly walks in, only to be confused with what they see. Warren is seen washing his coast-to-coast title in the sink, mumbling to himself. The interviewer approaches him, asking what the hell he's doing. Warren has gone a little crazy, obsessed with getting any sort of DNA of Johnny Fabuloso the hell off his title. He can't believe Johnny put his fabulous ones anywhere near the gold. In fact, he's lucky he didn't kiss the title last week. Walking out of the bathroom, Jaxon is wiping his gold, being asked for his thoughts heading into the main event tonight with the World Impetus champion, Greg Williams. As Warren exits the bathroom, he is about to answer, only to be stopped by Empire. Corey sarcastically says hi to his old friend and thanks Warren for his efforts. With Warren confused, Blake believes it to be a kind gesture of Warren, shining up the title real nice for Empire before they take it from him at Impulse 3. Jaxon sarcastically laughs at the witticism and asks if they made that lie up themselves or if they got Dave Falcon to come up with it for them, just like he came up with everything else. Their tag moves, the way that they wipe their asses, everything. Corey can't wait to take the title from Warren and make their mentor proud, unlike him. Blake claims that Warren shouldn't be worried about his main event tonight against Greg Williams, as he should be worried about losing his title at the pay-per-view. Warren can't wait to defeat all of his extraordinary bitches at Impulse 3 and retain his title. Warren raises his title proudly and notices something on the belt. He tells Empire that they should be worried about something else too. Herpes. Herpes? Why herpes? Warren claims that it looks as though he missed a spot while cleaning his title, as there seems to be a pube remaining. Quickly, Warren grabs the pube and shoves it in Corey's mouth. With Corey spitting with disgust, Warren walks off with a snigger. The extraordinary bomb is set to explode in 3 weeks' time, as the Coast to Coast Championship triple threat match between Empire and Warren Jaxon takes place at Impulse 3. However, tonight, we have a huge main event featuring Warren Jaxon, the champion versus champion match, as he takes on Greg Williams. Up next, though, is Hernando Lystio taking on the sinister sister of Susan. Back from the commercials, enter El Fuego. With Lystio in different coloured gear this time, Synxia is told by his partner to check on his backside, making sure everything is all clear. Despite the comedic value to this, the commentators understand why Lystio is so nervous, as they have an angry family ready to enter. A replay from last week's 2-year anniversary spectacular is shown. Replays of Immunity's interference is shown. With Bobby and Jerry beating down Skar and Susan, causing a disqualification, it is noted that El Fuego subtly escaped with their gold. Enter Susan with Skar. Still steaming from their loss, the siblings enter with fury, ready to unleash hell. Match 5, Hernando Lystio with Riccardo Synxia versus Susan with Skar. Lystio is obviously intimidated by the undead sister and hopes to avoid her as much as possible. With the match progressing, it gets more and more competitive, all with Lystio using moves on Susan, staying away from strikes. With Lystio outpowering and maneuvering Susan, this upsets the chaotic creature at ringside. However, Skar decides not to react, as the match remains to be fair. With Lystio getting more and more intimidated by the angering groans of Skar, it costs him offense as Susan is able to come back with a flurry of attacks. With Lystio slowly rising up, Susan prepares for the revival kick, only for Lystio to duck and strike for the first time in the match with a super kick. Furious with the strike, Skar loses his patience and storms into the ring, dropping the luchador. Winner, Hernando Lystio, by disqualification. Still overly protecting his sister after the match, Skar clutches the throat of Lystio, only for Synxia to swipe his partner's feet and pull him out of the ring. El Fuego escaped once again, with Skar furious at the sight of his fallen sister. Checking on his sibling, Skar looks up at the relieved El Fuego as they luckily exit without a scratch. With the scene seemingly over, the show transitions to an immunity promo, all while Skar and Susan remain in the ring. Seen on the screen is immunity, in the hallway. With Charlie in front of Bobby, Jerry, and Angel, he reminds all what his team's agenda is, to eliminate the world from weakness. What the world has just witnessed is a prime example of what immunity is trying to destroy. The overprotection of one's family, the constant stress of caring for one's health. It's just so weak. Charlie talks to Skar, telling him that it is this weakness that costed him the tag team titles, not immunity. Since the demise of Dominic Silva, the chaotic creature has gotten weaker by the day. Why? Because he no longer needs to fight for what he wants. Finch chuckles at Skar, claiming that they will eliminate weakness, and they will eliminate Skar. Immunity walk out of sight with images of Skar and Susan looking on with anger. We then see Greg Williams walk through the backstage hallway. Exiting his locker room, we see the champion for the first time tonight, holding his recently retained gold and walking with intent, ready for his main event match up next. Up next, the main event champion versus champion match between Greg Williams and Warren Jaxon. Back from our final commercial break of the evening, enter Warren Jaxon. The Coast to Coast champion enters with huge confidence after his recent title defense. Enter Greg Williams. Entering with his own gold, Greg Williams seems more than ready to be the face and future of Impetus. Main event, Match 6, Greg Williams vs Warren Jaxon. The two have an epic battle, showcasing their championship material. With Warren locking in the Indian Deathlock, Greg is close to tapping. Scratching and clawing his way to the ropes, the world champion seems too far away. However, Empire run down the ramp and pull the referee out of the ring, hoping to stop their future opponent from obtaining a victory. With the official distracted, Greg is finally able to reach the ropes regardless. Warren breaks the hold, understanding the rope break, but is furious to see his future opponents make an impact in the match. Yelling at his former allies, Warren turns around to be struck with the scrutiny. Greg covers for a potential win, only to release the pin attempt, fully aware that his victory would be tainted by Empire's interference. Furious with Empire, Greg stands up, limping on one leg, and challenges them to come into the ring, seeing as they oh so desperately want to compete. With Warren recovering from the knee to the face, Greg picks his opponent up and demands a 2-on-2 competition with the enemy. With Greg and Warren willing to chuck out the match for competition against Empire, Corey and Blake want no part of the heroes and decide to vacate from the arena. With Warren and Greg at a standstill, they gladly resume their combat with Empire gone. With Greg's strike countered, Warren throws punch after punch, eventually hoping to hit his overdrive. However, it is reversed into the Gordo Cutter, finally awarding Greg the win against the highly competitive Coast to Coast champion.
Winner, Greg Williams. Aware of the Empire shenanigans, Greg and Warren rise to their feet after the match, disappointed with the interference. As the two stare each other down, they both receive their gold and realize that there was nothing else that they could have done to make that match better. As a result, Warren nods with approval, respecting the fight that Greg gave him. The Coast to Coast champion leaves, allowing Greg to celebrate his win. While holding the title high on the turnbuckle, Greg is happy as Impetus seems to end on a high note.
However, the Rebels' music is cut off by the advertising music of Impulse 3. With the champion confused, he looks around to see what's going on. Still standing on the second rope, he notices the screen at the stage advertise the next pay-per-view. Greg then witnesses a match graphic being placed on the screen, seeing a promotion of Impulse 3, putting his World Impetus Championship on the line against Ricky Matthews. A little stunned by the announcement, Greg looks to the timekeeper area for clarity, as he clearly had no idea about the match. He then exits with confusion, perhaps a little annoyed with the lack of notice to such a high caliber match. Impetus ends with a huge main event match scheduled for the pay-per-view.